west coast, heavy rainfall and snow is going to slam California, threatening not only a flood risk, but also a winter storm risk as well. We'll talk about exactly where we're expecting that. Hey, take a look at this. Do you see this little spin right here, this little curly Q just off the west coast? This is that low pressure system that's going to be feeding in all of this moisture into places like San Francisco, all the way into the mountains, bringing snow to the mountains and flooding to the coast. And we'll talk more about that here in just a few minutes. Let's go ahead and zoom down into California. It's going to be a very, very rainy into the week. Thursday and Friday, it looks like on and off rain for places like San Francisco and Los Angeles, just over and over and over. We've got your flood risk on here as well as those winter storm warnings. So we've got a winter storm warning highlighted there in pink, a winter weather advisory highlighted in purple. How much snow are we talking about here? Up to 18 inches of snow in some of our upper elevations. So some of those lower elevations, 6 to 12 inches of snow, but 18 inches, holy moly, that is a lot of snow. No wonder that we have a winter storm warning on the board here. So that all happens at the end of this week. We also, of course, have that flood risk on here. We've got a level 2 flood risk for today. A level 2 flood risk going near some of our bigger cities as well for tomorrow. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that for tomorrow and on Saturday. Finally, by Sunday, this will all wrap up. But yeah, for now, we've got flash flooding concerns for Los Angeles, heavy rain and snow for not only Los Angeles, but also San Francisco for that rain. And then you go just a little bit to the east, you go into some of those upper elevations, and that's where you have the snow that moves in today and tomorrow.
Talking about an atmospheric river, well, it is very similar to the actual rivers that you see when you're out and about. But the difference is an atmospheric river is kind of this large area in the atmosphere that's narrow, that has a lot of moisture that's available. So it's pulling that moisture out of the ocean. Sometimes it's pulling it even from the tropics, where we talk about, our tropical storms and our hurricanes, and it's bringing it to different areas across the country. But it is very similar again to a river, that it is just this moisture that's moving in, but it's up in the sky, hence it being an atmospheric river. So how does this kind of translate into a flooding risk that we're talking about? Well, when that moisture starts to move into land, it starts to kind of interact with these land masses. A lot of the times it's being shoved up areas like mountains. Again, the Pacific Northwest, a lot of mountains up there. So you can see that's kind of what we're going to be dealing with. As that moisture starts to move onto the land, mountains typically force it upwards. Once it gets that upward motion, you start to see some of these storms that will develop, and just rain in general. So the moisture starts to cool, it will condense, and that at point produces rain and even snow if it gets cold enough. So in higher elevations in the mountains especially, that's when you start to see more of those snowstorms. So it can really produce some deep snowfall. Flooding becomes a possibility, mudslides, and that can be really dangerous as well, because if you have areas that maybe haven't seen a ton of rainfall, and now all of a sudden you're introducing a lot of rain at once, that topsoil is going to be very loose, so that can really cause those mudslides. So